Kansas fan headquarters, 97.5 and 1240 KFH Wichita, KNSS HD2 Clearwater, and Odyssey Sports Station.
Hey Wichita, it's Jacob Albrock. Stay right there for the latest breaking in sports talk. It's Sports Daily, coming up next exclusively on 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
Jim Rome with your Rome Report. Now, I am not here to bury James Franklin and Penn State. Yes, I am, but not without giving Notre Dame their massive ups first. And to the question, did Notre Dame win this game or did Penn State lose it? As always, the answer is yes. But don't get it twisted. Notre Dame was in trouble. Penn State was in control. In fact, Penn State was physically manhandling Notre Dame in the first half and landing punches at will. The Fighting Irish are different. Marcus Freeman is different. And so is his culture and his toughness and game management and the talent and the grit that he has in that locker room. My man has infinite confidence in his dudes, and he never wavered in his belief in them. He never blinked, and neither did his team, and that's why they're playing for the Natty. I have never understood all the Notre Dame hate. I have always liked and respected Notre Dame, but I have never liked or respected them more than I do right now, and it all starts with Marcus Freeman, freaking ball coach. I'm Jim Rome. Don't miss out on the last few weeks of football action with Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching the playoffs. The app is simple. Pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use my code ROME and get a $50 credit instantly when you play $5. That's code ROME, R-O-M-E, on Prize Picks to get a $50 credit instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. You do have to be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at tryethos.com. That's tryethos.com.
Now, from Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH. This is Sports Daily with Jacob Albrocht and Tommy Kester.
Hey, happy Monday out there, everybody. Glad to be with you on a finally not snowy morning. It's a great way to start the week. A little different than it was a week ago, but we're ready for it. Glad to be here with you as we are making our way closer and closer, finally, to a Chiefs playoff game. Feels like forever since the Chiefs have played, but we'll get you all caught up on the NFL playoffs, on the college football playoffs, college basketball. Not a lot of great news out of college basketball. We'll begin to dig into that. More on that certainly throughout the week here. It is Jacob Albrocht and Tommy Castor. We are glad to be with you live on KFH through the Odyssey app, if that's the way you're listening to us. Through our video streams on Facebook, YouTube, and X, all the different ways you take in the show. We appreciate you being here with us on a Monday. We'll get you ready for that Chiefs playoff game. It's a rematch against the Texans. We'll get you caught up on the others. Tommy, how are you? Enjoy the sports weekend. It's pretty hard not to enjoy nonstop. We talked about and it's not over yet. We get one more tonight, the 5 days or whatever it was straight of meaningful football playoff action. It was great.
Yeah, we've got a full slate. We had a full slate this past weekend of NFL, playoff football, college football, the CFP Thursday and Friday, college basketball. Man, there's a lot to get to on this Reaction Monday.
Man, it's finally here. I know there's one more game to play, but for Chiefs fans, like, you can finally begin to think about and prepare for what's coming in the opening round against the Texans. And it will be, quite frankly, a game in which they're pretty heavy favorites. I think we saw this. I think you agreed with this. I think this is the best outcome as far as the divisional round opponent goes for the Chiefs. Certainly you would have liked to see the Ravens or the Bills go down if that led to it. But the Chiefs open as an 8-point favorite over Houston. But, Tommy, and I know they played Houston really well at a bird's eye look. Houston does some things that when you're talking about the Chiefs, could give them a little trouble, which mostly is rushing the passer when we talk about the Chiefs offensive line. But I think today Chiefs fans feel pretty good about seeing that team in this round. At least I do as a Chiefs observer, of course. I think this is a pretty good outcome for the Chiefs.
Well, it's a team that they played, a month ago. So
Right.
they're familiar with them, and they played them probably one of their better games of this season, at least as far as a margin of victory is concerned. So, I think knowing all of that and knowing the recency of playing a team like the Texans, yeah, you feel a level of confidence because you're familiar with them. You have beat them as recently as just a few weeks ago. That being said, though, there were some things that Houston did against the Chargers that they didn't do the last time that they played the Chiefs. And that was, in the stretch when the last time these two teams, faced off, it was in a stretch of time when the Texans were really struggling. When they had started off really hot, had gotten, dealt with those injuries and whatever, their play had dropped off. CJ Stroud wasn't playing quite up to the level that we had expected him to play in his sophomore season. So things were not going particularly well for the Texans at that time. But credit to them and credit to DeMeco Ryans for getting that team turned around and having them win a playoff game.
And we're going to talk about all of that as we make our way through. We'll begin to crack the can open on the Texans. We do know that the Chiefs and Texans will play the early Saturday game, which wasn't a surprise. We sort of expected that selfishly as an employee of KWCH. I was hoping CBS would get it, but there's no way CBS wasn't taking Ravens Bills in that prime spot. Those teams both flexed in the opening round of the playoffs. They did exactly what we thought they would do, what they're capable of doing. So that will be an all-time classic. This is the same four teams we had in the same matchups a year ago. You flip-flop, where they're playing as far as the Ravens and both of them, I guess. The Chiefs went on the road too. So you flip-flop everybody where they're playing, but the same opponents. So that's kind of interesting. You get a sort of a totally new look in the NFC playoffs, which we'll get to all of this throughout the show today. We're going to have the voice of the Wildcats, Wyatt Thompson, joining us. Should be hopping on next segment as we need to get to a lot of college basketball today and a lot tomorrow too. But it's not looking good right now for K-State or Wichita State. We'll begin to talk Cats next with Wyatt Thompson in our next segment. We'll have a little bit of Shocker talk today and a whole lot more Shocker talk tomorrow. We'll also have a little Royals talk. Jaylon Thompson, the last time we talked to Jaylon, which was this time last week, we talked about a potential move. What about a fit of a guy like Michael Lorenzen? I think it was that night. Was it that night or the next night? Anyway, it was within like 24 hours, the Royals make the announcement that they bring in Michael Lorenzen. So we'll dig into that decision, what went into it, how will they utilize him, and how much better does that make the team? That's coming up in the next hour. So looking forward to a couple of interviews as well. Rest of the NFL playoffs, because there'll be a few segments here before we dig in completely, Tommy. You had the Commanders. I hate seeing Baker Mayfield go home, but I love that Jaden Daniels is on to the next round. So that was cool. We didn't have, the Philadelphia Green Bay game wasn't very good. The Buffalo Denver game wasn't very good. Houston Chargers wasn't very good, and Ravens Steelers wasn't very good. So you kind of had one really good game. To all those CFP haters out there, should we shrink down the playoffs now because the opening round wasn't very good? Like, should we just stop letting them in? Like, we knew it was going to be the Chiefs, Ravens, Lions, Bills, and Eagles. Should we just have skipped the rest of the playoffs? I mean, come on. No, it was fine.
By the way, that last game last night was great.
It was really good.
Between Jaden Daniels and Baker Mayfield, and I think a couple things. First off, what Jaden Daniels does in clutch moments, and he's supported by his coach. I mean, Dan Quinn rolls the dice on fourth down. They've done it more than any other team in the NFL. And what's remarkable about it is that he does it with a rookie quarterback. Like, the fact that you are trusting a rookie quarterback and that quarterback has earned that trust over the course of the entire season by rolling the dice, going for it like they do on fourth down. That's the major reason why the Commanders are in the spot that they're in.
Sure. And Baker Mayfield fumbled a snap or fumbled a handoff, and that was kind of the difference in the game. It was by far the most compelling and entertaining game. I do think Washington is more dangerous than they're getting credit for. There will be an interesting matchup for the Lions, fully rested Lions, but not healthy Lions. Washington is a dynamic team in the postseason because they have a quarterback who can make a huge play every time he touches the ball, right? We've seen that. and we'll see what kind of player he is. It's all kind of, they're healthy, relatively speaking, to other teams in the postseason. But that was a great game. I suspect we'll get another great game tonight. I find it unlikely that we see any sort of blowout in the game tonight. Two teams just absolutely loaded with talent all over the field. So we should get a nice little finale to the NFL playoffs. And we hate, of course, the circumstances at which they're playing a neutral field game. It is devastating what's happening out on the West Coast right now. But thankfully, the NFL can, give folks and fans out there a little bit of a moment to step away from all that. And that's why we love sports in the first place. So we'll have that game tonight. We might have a chance to get into that tonight, maybe some bets or something that we like from that game, because it is going to be a pretty high-profile game between the Vikings and the Rams tonight on Monday Night Football. So we'll have all of that. We'll have college football talk, the CFP. We do have our national championship lined up. It is the two teams that were favored. It is the two teams that would not have been in the CFP if we took this a year ago, which is always an interesting proposition. Will Howard got it done against Texas. That game was incredible. Came down to a last fumble. Really, both of those games were really, really good. So we've got a lot to talk to on a Monday. A lot to talk to you, I should say, about on a Monday. So keep it here. Thanks to Prairie Fire Coffee for keeping us fueled up each and every morning here at KFH. Wyatt Thompson, voice of the Wildcats, joins us next on Sports Daily.
"66 counties, 4 regions, and 1 weather team that you can trust." Find Storm Team 12 every weekday at 5:30 on the KSCW. Whatever the weather and wherever you are, Storm Team 12 is zooming in, going zone by zone to give you a more in-depth look at the forecast and some science behind the storms so you know more. We're focusing on the forecast so you can focus on what's important to you. Storm Team 12 Weather Focus, 5:30 on the KSCW.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, "I don't get it, it's just tea." But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite, or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
It's the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood, written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
What is GMFB Overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of... It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Are following a breaking update.
Every day, all day, stream the stories that have you talking near and far.
Whoever is behind the wheel of this bus is not stopping.
From hundreds of local reporters and meteorologists spanning the country.
Chaos here this morning at the UW campus.
Search LNL for the all-new Local News Live streaming app.
Make yourself known now.
31001 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people. We investigate stories that impact you
and inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospital lives from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issued a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
And now, digging deeper with the teams you follow, it's another Sports Daily Insider interview on KFH.
And we welcome in one of our K-State insiders, Wyatt Thompson, voice of the K-State Wildcats. Glad to have Wyatt in. It's been a week since we talked to Wyatt, in not a good way for K-State basketball, so we'll dig in there. Appreciate you all being with us, all the different places that you are here on KFH. Wyatt, boy, I got to tell you, since the last time we talked, K-State had a chance to go down to Stillwater and get a big win. They lose by 13 to Oklahoma State. They come back home, lose by 30 to Houston. They've got more losses than any team in the Big 12. They've got the worst net ranking in the Big 12. They're still, I guess, hanging your hat on one quality win this year over Cincinnati, who's now 0-4 in Big 12 play. What is the feeling right now around campus? I was at the game Saturday down against Houston, and it just doesn't feel, Wyatt, to me like there's any rhyme or reason to the way this team is playing. They still just try to get, maybe an open look at three, but they're just not generating anything offensively. And in that game, I thought the defensive effort lacked as well.
Well, you said a bunch there, and good to be on with you guys again. It's been a tough stretch, no question. K-State has dropped 3 in a row since the loss to Cincinnati. And as you mentioned, Cincinnati, I guess we threw them into a funk. Maybe that's where we start in terms of good things. It's hard for me to believe that they're 0-4, but they've also played an awfully good schedule. The game in Stillwater was frustrating from the standpoint of you're coming off of the loss at TCU, right, where you had every opportunity to win, and you just don't have a lot of juice in that game, and you allow a 15-0 run to end the half, and you're pretty much out of the game. The one the other night with Houston was different, and as you mentioned, you were there. I'm sure you saw similar things that I did. Let me praise Houston first for what they are, because I think they are, as they were a year ago, an extremely high-level defensive team. But I think they have the potential at least to go even farther this time because they're better offensively with the 3-point shooting, with not just LJ Cryer, but Emmanuel Sharp's gotten so much better. They've got a solid bench. It's not, 9, 10, 11 deep, but it's certainly their top 8 probably as good as anybody. With that said, to address what you talked about with K-State, I think that's the frustration really, Jacob, because I think fans don't see a lot of quality on the offensive end. Some have even questioned the effort and the desire of the team. I saw one tweet that talked about Coach Tang was really cut in and probably showed as much emotion on the sideline in this game as any this year, but the players didn't match that. I'm sure a lot of people would agree with that. I think Houston does make you look like that to a degree. I mean, I've seen these guys up close and personal twice in the last 2 years, and they really they take the fight to you, believe me. And I'm sure you saw that. Coach mentioned something after the game that I can't really get out of my head, and that is when it comes to rebounding, they get a hand on every ball. They may not get every rebound, but they fight like crazy, and they're athletic enough and lengthy enough that they make it most difficult for you. Let's put it in perspective one final way like this. In the last 2 years, I've said this. I've done a lot of games in my career. When you play them, every bucket you get is hard. That's about as good a compliment as I can give Houston. Where do we go from here? It doesn't get much easier. We've got Tech in here tomorrow night and at Kansas on Saturday. So I think a lot of people are concerned that, they're not seeing the progress. And I know this is a long answer, but I'm not sure exactly, what happens from here. I think they're trying, but there's no success there at all, fellas, honestly.
I was much less frustrated, Wyatt, during the Houston game than I was with Oklahoma State. I don't know if you share the same sentiments because, we all know how great of a team Houston is. And even Coach Tang said it in the postgame that, the Wildcats could have played their absolute best game and it would have been difficult to keep up with a team like Houston. With Oklahoma State, it was almost more of an effort type thing. I felt like there just didn't really feel like it was crisp and all of that. I just sort of felt like the effort was there on Saturday against Houston. They were just outmatched.
Well, I think the effort was better against Houston, and I think they knew that it needed to be for them to have any chance at all. That's pretty well said. I think for me personally, maybe the most frustrating thing, aside from the 15-0 run at Oklahoma State to end the half, where you're pretty much out of the game, is the game. For whatever reason, K-State made the game really, really easy for their big man. Abu Usman looked like Kareem. He was just getting everything he wanted, anything he wanted for most of that. And thus they go at halftime into the second half with a switch to zone, which they rarely, if ever, do. And 18 minutes for Ugo Onyenso. I thought, whoa, there's a switch. And it did have an effect for a while. But unfortunately, Oklahoma State isn't just the one big man. They hit some shots and just got away from K-State.
Right, I'm gonna do this, and I know you're well aware of this, and I think most of us are, but it is just jarring to me. Outside of the Cincinnati game, here are the wins for K-State: Fort Hays State, New Orleans, Cleveland State, Mississippi Valley State, George Washington, Longwood, and UAPB. We are 15 games into a season with one quality win.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big problem.
It's a monster problem. And, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago going into conference play. My concern is because of the way the strength of schedule laid out, they were going to have to not only have a good conference season, but probably play above that, whatever that is. I don't know if at that time, if I'm being honest, I'm thinking, okay, you got 20 games, 10-10 may not get you in, and it would get everybody else in, right? But that strength of schedule has been, it sticks out like a sore thumb. Everybody talks about it, everybody sees it, and now here you go, you're sinking deeper and deeper within the net, and your strength of schedule is stable and occasionally could move up if you can win some games. Because now you're into a situation where I mean, go look at the net and see where Tech is and Kansas is. And then after that, it's Baylor and West Virginia. All of those teams are playing really, really well. 100% factual.
Speaking of Tech, Wyatt, the Red Raiders come in to Bramlage tomorrow night. They very nearly knocked off Iowa State in Lubbock on Saturday. That was a hell of a game to watch, that overtime game. It was so good. And this is a team that they're fiery and they've got, that energy that can, before you know it, all of a sudden they're throwing points up on you and you have no idea where it came from, kind of shell-shocked, type way that Grant McCaslin coaches that team. What are some things that you think that Jerome Tang and the Wildcats have to do to prevent that sort of thing from happening to them tomorrow night?
Well, they're going to have, it's a great point, Tommy, because this is, if you study it, one of the best offensive production teams in the country, not just the Big 12. They lost that game. Here's how good Iowa State is. And you can argue that Tech could have won the game or should have won the game or whatever you want to say. But their top four scorers had 18, 18, 18, and 15, and they got beat by one in overtime. They are high level offensively with Toppin and Darian Williams, Chance McMillan, Elijah Hawkins. Their freshman Christian Anderson has already played international basketball, and he can just rip the cover off the ball shooting it. So they're high level there. You have to guard, you have to rebound. And then somehow they've got to find a way to improve offensively. K-State made 10 threes in the game Saturday. Normally you take that, but it seemed just totally insignificant with Houston because they just were, after the first few minutes, they were really never a part of the game. Maybe they will be if they do it this time.
Yeah, it's wild. And that's been, we'd seen that. We had seen a little stretch where they weren't so reliant on the three, but now they are. What sense and what feel do you get right now from Gene Taylor? There were plenty of boosters talking to me. I feel like I have a pretty good read on those guys
Sure.
at the game. But what about Gene and what about internally at the university? Like, how much heat is this season, I guess, when you look at last season into this season, generating right now?
Well, I think there's a lot of frustration just because the expectations were so high. The media, and probably rightfully so, has made such a big deal out of K-State. Has been, if nothing else, they've been highly competitive with this group in the NIL dollars. That also probably raises the expectations, or did early on. I know Gene is I'm just going to say this. I've worked with a lot of quality athletic directors. Gene is as good as most, if not better than most, with giving these coaches virtually everything they need to compete. We at K-State, there are some limitations, certainly, but he's going to do everything he can with money and support and all of those types of things, staff, to give you every opportunity to compete at the highest level in this league. And when that's not happening, it stings a little bit. He's the guy that hired Jerome Tang, and he wants him to succeed in the worst way, much like with Chris Kleiman and all of that. So there's a lot of frustration on his part. I just think it's probably campus and community wide that everybody is just like, wow, how is this happening? How can they get out of this rut? And there just seems to be very few easy answers at the moment, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, the good news is there's plenty of time. It's still very early. It may be, they're tethered to their performance in a conference tournament between now and then. Can they just play up to the potential we thought they had? They're going to get plenty of chances to be upset specialists. It's tomorrow night. You'll hear it right here on KFH against Tech. That's an 8:00 tip. Then Kansas, then Baylor, West Virginia, before you finally get some reprieve to a team that just beat you at their place in Oklahoma State. It'll be an interesting stretch, Wyatt. You guys have the call tomorrow night right here on KFH. Looking forward to it if they can finally play up to their potential.
Yeah, that's the thing. And one of these days or nights they're going to do it. And everybody's going to go, whoa, where's that been all along, right? Or at least that's my hope. This game tomorrow night is intriguing for me just to see Tech. I've heard so many good things about some of those kids that I talked about. And, you've got that angle where, the coaching matchup is a couple of former Baylor assistants, and that's always hanging out there a little bit too, because Scott Drews put so many guys out there. I just hope, when we get to the 8 o'clock mark tomorrow night, there's a lot of energy in the building, a lot of energy with the basketball team, and then just go and see what happens. Let's hope that's the case. I think they need a good crowd and a crowd that's got some juice behind them to help.
Wyatt, we appreciate it. We hate it. We appreciate it
I
though.
understand.
And we're gonna see some better basketball. We have to.
I'm with you. Yeah, I'm with you. Great to be on with you guys as always. I appreciate the opportunity, fellas.
There goes Wyatt Thompson, voice of the K-State Wildcats. It is a tough time right now to try to dissect what we're seeing out there, Tommy. Houston just kind of came in and did whatever they wanted to do. They were bigger, stronger. K-State, they hit a couple early threes. Hassan, it's like, okay, they're going to be able to hang, and then they just couldn't get anything going on either end of the floor. I don't know why Buddy Rich doesn't play. Plenty of people ask me that question because when he's out there, sometimes he looks like he's the best player on the floor. I'm like, guys, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know why chemistry seems to be such an issue for a team and a coach, that chemistry seems to be the thing he does better than anything else he does. So I honestly, I don't have any answers for you other than they can't run an offense.
Well, you want to know part of the reason why, and it was actually something that both Jerome Tang and Kelvin Sampson talked about post-game, and it's continuity of a roster. And I know that we're in this world now. We're in a world now where transfer portal and, you're rebuilding a team every single year. That's not the way that it's done at Houston. I mean, there's so much veteran experience on that Cougars roster up and down. Like, these guys have played together for a while. And I don't know what Sampson has been able to do. I mean, I know success will, help generate that quite a bit, but he's been able to keep this team, the nucleus of it, together for a period of time to where you're not consistently turning over the whole roster every single year. It's kind of the outlier in college basketball. And I know that's something that Jerome Tang would like to have.
Well, it doesn't matter what you'd like to have because this is the world.
The reality of the situation,
I understand, but that is a more frightening question for Jerome Tang, I think, than anything else, because at the end of the day, you either succeed in this model or you don't. And that's it, right? Like, it doesn't matter if you like it. It doesn't matter if you if you wish that you had, but you don't. So if you can't win this way, this is the way it is right now in college basketball. Does it stay that way forever? Probably not. But right now, this is the way that it is. And you have to win that way. And lots of teams are winning that way. LJ Cryer didn't start his career at Houston.
You're right.
Like, so
right. He's been there for a minute. I mean, he went to Houston and he stayed.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, everybody's dealing with this. Everybody is. Every team has turnover to some degree. Wichita State, they had more returning than anybody. Not only just in the conference, they were one of the more expensive. So it doesn't. I don't like that because that's the way it would be like. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a relatable example of where you're like, well, things have just changed so much. It makes it really hard. Like, we don't get to make those excuses. Things change all the time. In the TV industry, reporters used to go out with photographers every day and they would turn one big story a day, maybe two. They'd have a photographer. They had somebody help them edit. Now these young people go out and they do it all themselves and they turn 4 stories a day. Guess what happens if they say, gosh, used to, you got more time. No, bye. You either adapt or you don't. And so I don't like that. I don't like that. Whenever there's struggle right now in college sports, it's the transfer portal and all this roster turnover. I'm like, man, everybody's dealing with that. Somebody's going to win.
You're right in all of that. And I don't disagree with you have to be able to adjust and adapt. But at the same time, it was pretty evident when you're watching the game on Saturday, the team that had the experience playing together and the chemistry. I mean, you talked about chemistry and the lack of it versus the team that didn't have the chemistry in Kansas State.
That's the issue.
Difference. It was a night and day difference. And you can build chemistry in several different ways. The way that Houston has built it is just they've got continuity. They've had consistency in that roster for the most part over the last few years. That hasn't been the case at Kansas State. So that you can't just stop there if you're Jerome Tang and say, well, look at Houston. They've kept their team together. I need that. We'll find another way to build that chemistry. You're the master motivator. You're the coach that was brought in to develop a team chemistry. That's what you're good at. That's what you've done for your entire career. Now's the time that you got to do that.
And by the way, you don't get to have it both ways either. Keontae Johnson came in as a transfer player and led you to a Final Four. Okay, so or Elite Eight, whatever it was. Yeah, Elite Eight. You don't get to have both things, right? You don't get to love having a player like Keontae Johnson come in.
When it doesn't work, yeah.
Yeah, and then when you're bringing in all these other players, it's like, well, we didn't have any right. You didn't then either. Like at some point you either get the group to come together, because guess what? Like, I don't know what percentage these other teams that are really successful in the Big 12 have turned over the roster, but it's a lot. It's a lot. You got to succeed in it. More on that. They play tomorrow night, as does Wichita State. We got a lot to get to today on Sports Daily. Don't go away. It's Albrecht and Caster. We're coming right back.
66 counties, 4 regions, and 1 weather team that you can trust. Find Storm Team 12 every weekday at 5:30 on the KSCW. Whatever the weather and wherever you are, Storm Team 12 is zooming in, going zone by zone to give you a more in-depth look at the forecast and some science behind the storms so you know more. We're focusing on the forecast so you can focus on what's important to you. Storm Team 12 Weather Focus, 5:30 on the KSCW.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite, or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
It's the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
They say,
what is GMFB Overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Are following a breaking update.
Every day, all day, stream the stories that have you talking near and far.
Whoever is behind the wheel of this bus is not stopping.
From hundreds of local reporters and meteorologists spanning the country.
Chaos here this morning at the UW campus.
Search LNL for the all-new Local News Live streaming app.
Make yourself known now.
310-01 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you
and inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite, or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, Tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospitalized from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issue a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
If you have a home construction need, Pepin Suter should be on your list of calls. Let Pepin bid your project, and you'll quickly see why they were the choice for our kitchen remodel over the summer. Their work is top-notch, their customer service top-notch, and they'll get you and help you every step of the way. Call Pepin, 316-573-6822, or go to pepinsuter.com to check out their work. You won't want to miss the opportunity to let them get in on your home project need. So give Pepin Suter a call. We appreciate their support of the program. Tommy, we come back, and we got a lot to get to today. So let's hit the shockers here. But before we do that, we always tell everybody there are ways to get in touch with the program, no matter when or how you listen. One of those is through voice messages. So voice messages are this cool feature we have in the Odyssey app. So if you download the show and listen to us in podcast form, which we know a lot of folks do, you can still get in touch with the show. You can still be a part of the program. You just click the little microphone and you send us a voice message. It's that easy. We've got one here on the Ravens, and this is a voice message again that came through the Odyssey app. Andy wanted to chime in on the Ravens here. Here's Andy in a voice message.
So there may not be a dominant team, but the Ravens may have a dominant stat. Their point differential against playoff teams is over 120 points, which is well over everybody else in the field. I think that would be something to look at.
It is. I think the Ravens, the only reason the Ravens probably, Tommy, are not the favorite right now is because of a history in the postseason for Lamar Jackson that he's still got to buck. I mean, that's the only thing holding them back, I think, from being the prohibitive favorite, honestly, because of the way they played this year. The Ravens, I remember way back to our conversations when we were talking about them. Early in the year, they had one of the worst defenses in football. Like, that's like not debatable. Like, they legitimately had one of the worst defenses in football. The last part of this season, they've got one of the best defenses in football, and the offense never got less dynamic or explosive, right? So they are the highest ceiling team for sure. It's just, can they get there and do what we've seen Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen do so many times in the playoffs, which is be magical, basically. Like, can Lamar Jackson find that in those games on the biggest stage? Hadn't been able to do that so far in his career. One of the best players in football, obviously, should be the MVP this year. But you know, you got to get to this point and get it done. And we've just seen Mahomes and Allen do that so many times. I think that's what probably puts the Ravens third in most people's AFC pecking order.
Well, and part of the reason I think why, they've been so dominant offensively, a large reason is not only do you have Lamar Jackson, but with what Derrick Henry has been able to do. Of course, we've all known how incredible he's been over the course of his career, but he showed it off in the playoff game on Saturday. I mean, that run, the touchdown run that he had, the breakaway speed was just incredible, right? And the dude is, not a spring chicken anymore. But he was able to, turn on the accelerators and get into the end zone. And having, everybody has known this, as soon as you paired up Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry with the other pass catchers that they've got in Baltimore, it becomes an incredibly dynamic offense. It's just a matter of bucking the perception of the past that Lamar has struggled in the playoffs. And, I think getting a little bit of the monkey off of his back in not only beating Pittsburgh, but beating Pittsburgh handily, I think certainly helps change that perception moving forward.
They didn't even have Zay Flowers in the game, who's their best receiver. And the mistake that they made against the Chiefs last year is almost impossible to imagine them making again. And that's that they didn't run the ball. They are going to run the crap out of the ball. They're going to try and keep you off the field. They're dangerous. That game against Buffalo is fascinating.
Well, and I think that, by the way, for Kansas City, it is so good for the Chiefs that they only have to face one of the Ravens and the Bills. They don't have to play both of them to make it to the Super Bowl.
And I don't even know yet, and we'll, cross that bridge when you get there. I don't even know yet which one of those two teams I'd like to see the Chiefs play. You got to get through Houston first. We're going to talk about that matchup in the next hour. Let's touch on the Shockers, Tommy. More on this tomorrow. I don't know what to really say. It's sort of like K-State. It doesn't make any sense. It might make even less sense, honestly, than K-State, because unlike K-State, who doesn't have a quality win yet, right? Like, they don't have any quality wins yet. I guess Cincinnati. Wichita State has quite a and maybe we don't think of K-State as a quality win anymore, but that was a quality level of basketball that they played in that game. I don't know what on earth is happening with the Shocker defense that they give up 88 points to UTSA. But now in these losses, with the exception of UMKC, which was a loss, let's remove that one for a second. 91, 91, 91, and 88 points allowed. I am floored. I was sick to my stomach sitting up in Manhattan, seeing that unfold down in San Antonio. I just cannot believe we have gone from the K-State win and the way this team played to the last two games we've seen them play. And Tommy, like, it is right there in front of them to have South Florida at home and then follow it up with UTSA, Charlotte, ECU, and Tulsa in your next mix of games. Like, they should have gone out to I'm okay. Listen, I'll swallow a Temple loss on the road, but this team should have been in a situation where they're like 5-2 or something going into the North Texas game, right there where we thought they were. And I don't know now, like, I don't even know what to expect.
Well, I mean, I think you have to go into it thinking, can they beat Charlotte or ECU or Tulsa? I don't think so. I mean, they lost to UTSA, one of the worst teams in college basketball.
Those are
on the
all
road.
some of the worst teams in college basketball, by the way.
Same thing with South Florida. They lost to one of the worst teams in all of Division I college basketball at home in that game against South Florida. Like, there are a litany of issues with this team, but I think what is super concerning right off the top is the fact that we heard last week after the South Florida game about the 2-a-day practices and the come to Jesus meetings and like all of this, like, meant to try to galvanize the team together. Did it work?
I don't know.
Clearly it did. I mean, look at the way that they started that game against UTSA.
So I think.
I know you were in Manhattan. The first 4 or 5 minutes of that game was a disaster for the Shockers. Like, the way that they took care of the basketball was awful. Like, the turnovers, so bad. And a lot of the turnovers were unforced errors. It wasn't even like UTSA was pressuring them. It was just like lazy, sloppy turnovers. Same thing with the defensive effort, the closeouts, the way that they defend the perimeter. Lazy, slow, like just no effort whatsoever. Those are things that 2-a-day practices and come to Jesus meetings are supposed to weed out. And that certainly didn't happen. It carried on into that game against UTSA. That's the most concerning part.
technically speaking, there are two things that stand out about why the Shockers are struggling. They turn the ball over too much lately. It's not something they did early in the season, and their perimeter defense has been awful.
Yeah.
Everybody's shooting the lights out. You can't just rely on somebody having a bad shooting night. Seth chimes in on YouTube and says one of the major issues for him is the perimeter defenders rely too much on Quincy Ballard to erase at the rim. The opponents have figured that out. And then goes on to say it's hard to, to counter threes with twos. The perimeter defenses, I mean, UTSA, what were they? 15 of 30, something like that. Just something absurd. Like that. And that's not just like a team was shooting well. That's been now the last 4 losses.
3, 4. Yeah.
Have been where again, you got to take out the UMKC game, which I don't know what the hell that was, but the other losses, they're all of those teams are shooting 45% or better from 3. That is insane. That's insane to think about. And the offense has been higher level, but man, like that doesn't seem like something against bad teams that you could even imagine them getting off that many good shots. It's creating some really uncomfortable conversations. I cannot tell you how many people have reached out and said the exact same thing Rick hints at. Wichita State fired Isaac Brown for doing a better job than this. Yeah.
It's true.
Yes. And that doesn't mean anything about the decision with Isaac Brown necessarily.
It's just a fact. I mean, it's a fact.
It's a fact, Brown, but it speaks to the state of the program.
Yeah.
So
in 3 seasons at Wichita State, Isaac Brown had a conference record of 26-20.
Right.
So far, in the Paul Mills era, the Shockers are 5-16 in conference play. And keep in mind, you had Houston and Cincinnati in the American Conference when Isaac Brown was the head coach of the Shockers. So that the overall level of competition was even higher, arguably, a couple of years ago when Isaac Brown was the coach.
Not arguably.
And it is now.
It was definitely better. I mean, you're looking at a league right now, Tommy, where you've got 2 teams in the top 60 of the net, and everybody else outside of the top 100. You've got 3 teams. We're talking about UTSA's at 253. South Florida's at 166, a team that beat Wichita State. They're about to play Charlotte, who's at 276. And East Carolina is just inside the top 200. This is not a good league this year. Like, it's just not. Like, Memphis is pretty good. North Texas is good. And right now, Wichita State
is down, I think, from previous years. Like they're not quite the same.
Wichita State's 0-3 in a bad league. They're 0-3 in a bad league. And that, again, I do think it's a little different than K-State. I think when you talk expectations and what a team could be, I think, for expectations this year at Wichita State, it was to finish, in the top 3 or 4 of the American. We knew that wasn't going to be good enough to get into the NCAA tournament. So that expectation, like for K-State, it was, they got to get back to the NCAA tournament, right? Like that expectation was very high. Wichita State's wasn't even that high. It's just get to the top part of a bad league. Like that's the expectation. There was nobody coming into this year that said, all right, the Shockers have got to get back to the NCAA tournament this year. Everybody knows that's not a realistic expectation this year. But good Lord, finishing at the bottom of a bad league, like that's not okay.
The whole expression of if a tree falls in the forest, but nobody's there to hear it doesn't make a sound.
I think about it all the time.
During that game on Saturday, it's buried on ESPN Plus. They're playing UTSA. They're getting blown out on the road to UTSA. They're turning the ball over. A quarter of their possessions, 25% of their possessions in that game, they turned the ball over. 17 turnovers in that game. They're not closing out. They're not defending worth anything. And I just thought to myself, do many people care at this point? Like, I know that there are supporters of the program, but it's like, if a tree falls in the forest and nobody is there to hear it, doesn't make a sound. And I'm wondering right now, are the Shockers even making a sound? Because I'm not quite sure that they are.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I know a lot of people tell me they sure wish the Shockers were relevant so they could watch them. That's not even Shocker fans. So I don't know for Shocker. That's just general people it's fun to have Wichita State basketball be relevant, and man, it's just not right now. And we'll get more into that tomorrow. It's a game day tomorrow. I think their propensity to turn it around is probably higher than K-State's when you look at both of them. But we'll get into it. Next hour, Jaylon Thompson is in to talk a little Royals. We got a lot of football to talk in the next hour, too. Keep it here. Sports Daily coming right back.
66 counties, 4 regions, and 1 weather team that you can trust. Find Storm Team 12 every weekday at 5:30 on the KSCW. Whatever the weather and wherever you are, Storm Team 12 is zooming in, going zone by zone to give you a more in-depth look at the forecast and some science behind the storms so you know more. We're focusing on the forecast so you can focus on what's important to you. Storm Team 12 Weather Focus, 5:30 on the KSCW.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite, or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
It's the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood, written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
What is GMFB overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Are following a breaking update.
Every day, all day, stream the stories that have you talking near and far.
Whoever is behind the wheel of this bus is not stopping.
From hundreds of local reporters and meteorologists spanning the country.
Chaos here this morning at the UW campus.
Search LNL for the all-new Local News Live streaming app.
Make yourself known now.
831001 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you.
And inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite, or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospitalized from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issue a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
Now from Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH. This is Sports Daily with Jacob Albrecht and Tommy Kester.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to Sports Daily. It is Albrecht and Caster. Glad to be with you. If you want to win some HTO, right now is your chance to do it, including the return of root beer, one of the very, very, very popular flavors at HTO that comes in and out occasionally. Well, it's here, and you can win a free iced tea and a free coffee drink right now by texting the keyword T, TEA, to the short code 20357. That's T, 20357, either Wichita location or in Derby. You can enter once per day, message and data rates apply. Good luck, everybody. We will have Jaylon Thompson in later in this hour. We will talk some football later in this hour, begin to look ahead to Chiefs, Texans. Let's sort of continue where we were going there because, you know, people are chiming in a little bit here on the Shockers. Look, I think when I say I think their propensity to turn it around is higher than K-State's, I mean that because I don't know what it is that K-State even does right now. Like I don't know what they are offensively. I don't know what they are defensively. I think there's a chemistry issue. I think everything's on the table at K-State. And I think they're about to play, you know, the Big 12 schedule. They're just beginning, right? For Wichita State, and here's the other, we still haven't seen K-State really play well this year ever, right? Wichita State we have. They're not right now. I don't know why that is. I think they're still playing decent offense. They're just not playing defense at all, and they're turning the ball over. They're about to get Ronnie DeGray back, and they play in a bad league. Like I think that their chances to sort of right this ship and get sailing in the right direction, to me, seem far higher than K-State's, and opponents are a part of that. But you have to, like, you can't let it spiral out of control. And I think that is the feeling right now, is that, like, why does this keep happening? And is it spiraling out of control? I don't know what else you can say to explain these losses. I mean, these technical things, they're the same thing every game, right? Like, defend a 3. Stop turning the ball over. Like, these are things we've seen this team do better at this year against better teams than they're playing right now.
Well, I think you just answered your own question. I mean, yeah, it has spiraled out of control. The bottom has fallen out. You know, you can't lose.
I hope it has.
I mean, you can't lose to teams that are down at the very bottom in Division I college basketball, and, you know, give up 90+ points to them and say that the bottom hasn't fallen out, to say that it hasn't spiraled out of control. I don't know. There's really no positive way to spin it.
It's not a positive spin. I'm saying, like, I hope this is the bottom and it doesn't go further, right? Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like,
I mean, what's further? Like going over in college play? Is that the bottom?
Yeah. There's further. I think there's further. The further is getting beat by 30 at home with no effort, like we saw at K-State. You know, there is further. I think it's pretty clearly a chemistry issue at K-State. I don't think that at Wichita State. So yeah, I think there's further, and I think it's much easier for them to get back where they want to be. That is almost an impossibility right now for K-State, for them to get back to where we thought we should have them. Wichita State can, I mean, again, easier said than done, obviously. They play in a bad league. Like, for them to string it together and be able to run some games together against Charlotte and East Carolina and Tulsa and Rice. Like,
they couldn't run any games together against South Florida and UTSA, who are worse than those teams in the metrics.
Well, they're as bad. We'll call it that. But yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's just like, I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it. And I can believe it for K-State, I guess, is what I'm saying. Like, I cannot believe this is happening again for Wichita State. It does not make any sense at all to me.
The other bad thing is that Wichita State has kind of painted itself into a corner, because even if I'm going to throw this out there, even if there was a decision that was made or wanted to be made about moving on from Paul Mills, you and I talked about this over the course of the weekend. The Shockers are already paying a lot of people to not coach, whether it's basketball or baseball or be the athletic director. Like, there's a lot of buyouts going on anyway. I'm not so sure that they can afford, to make a move. And I've seen people on social media commenting about that. Like, you can't move on from Paul Mills because, they can't afford to let him go. And, like, Okay, I mean, how bad is that? How sad is that? Like if you're
there's
and
not an appetite for that.
I'm not yet willing to say that they need to walk away
No.
right now. I mean, we're early enough in the season that, still in conference play that, things could get turned around. So I'm not going to go out on a limb and say that at this point right now on January 13th. But what I am saying is that if it gets to that point where, all the body of work and everything says and points to making a change, I'm not sure that, like you just said, the words you used, I don't know if there would be an appetite for it just from a purely financial standpoint.
Well, and honestly, like 2 years isn't enough. I think
really?
when you
because you and I talked about, you came into this season saying, okay, year number 2, like they need to finish in the top 3 in the American.
They do.
Like those were very clear expectations,
They
and
do.
I'm
saying if you're
college basketball, when you're rebuilding teams and transfer portals and all of that, you can. It's been shown you can turn a program around in 1 year.
You definitely can. I'm talking about moving on from a coach, not should they be winning more games. Of course they should. Isaac Brown had 3 years. I think, and like Jerome Tang is in year 3. Year 2, like it's too early for that. And here's the other thing too. If as I understand it, it was a 6-year buyout for Marshall that was made in November of 2020. So they either clear the money or get real close to it next year. But again, like because I think it's going, unless they go like 0 for the rest of the way, I don't think that's the conversation anyway. I just don't. So if you get to that point, it's going to be really uncomfortable because it's going to be difficult to do it. It's too early now, so I don't think it's a problem yet. Right now, I'm far more concerned with what is happening right now that has been so difficult to correct against bad teams, and like why isn't that happening? Now the timeline for DeGray has always been the next game, right? That's what everybody's hope has been. Something like that. Again, when you're playing in this league, that can make a big difference. And I hope it does. I hope it does because it makes me sick to my stomach.
Does Ronnie DeGray returning, does that magically keep the Shockers from turning the ball over 17 times?
Well, no, I don't think it but it magically
make them close out on the perimeter more?
It does that thing. I don't know about the other thing.
Maybe he can individually do that.
He's one of the
best.
That
doesn't magically by osmosis make everybody else close out more.
But he is one of the better defenders, if not the best defender on the team. And he is an attitude guy that could maybe get out there and fix some of that too. Energy, that sort of thing. So, yeah, I do think his return could mean a great deal. Now, again, bigger picture, what does that even mean? I'm not like they must, and they still have time to do it because of the teams that they'll play. They must finish high in the league this year, or next year's going to suck with how uncomfortable it will be unless they just bring in this magical transfer class, which is so unlikely right now for Wichita State anyway, because they're paying coaches a lot of money elsewhere to not coach and all of these things. And you're losing the appetite for that sort of thing. If you're the fan base and the boosters and all of these people, Wichita State's got to be good to draw. I mean, that's what it is. Like there's too many fans that are there because it's a fun thing and energy to catch up in. There's not like this great wide reaching donor base of some of these massive schools. You've got a handful of donors that have deep pockets, right? And so I don't know, and I don't even want to think about it yet. It's January 13th of year 2. I don't even want to start thinking about I want to think about why this team is playing so poorly over the last 2 weeks and where that came from and why it continues to happen. That's what I want to think about. And we'll see. We'll have much more on this tomorrow because tomorrow's a game day. But
and when you say that the Shockers must finish well in the league, what is that? I know going into the season it was top 3. That was I think that's where you put them. Like they need to be top 3.
I can't remember. Yeah.
So now that they're 0-3, 0-4 to start conference play, whatever it is, What does that mean, finishing high in the league? Is that top half at this point? Do those
that's the absolute baseline. But yes, like I haven't seen Tulane at all or UAB. Those are two teams that are off to good starts. And Memphis and North Texas is unreasonable. But I think, top 5-6 would still need to be the baseline. And there's still room to be better than, but you got to start somewhere, right? Like you have to. They still haven't been able to start somewhere. They're 0-3. And I guess the place to start is on tomorrow night. And so we're going to dig far more into this as we go through. Rick, a big KU guy, says one Kansas team did. I know, Rick. I understand.
It won ugly, 54-40.
That's a totally, like, I don't even know where to go with that. And we will get into them, Rick. And don't worry. Like, maybe not today, but we will tomorrow. Yes, Kansas did get a win, and Kansas is finding unique, and we'll call them unique ways to get there.
They're an elite defensive team. By the way, that's the first time in the Bill Self era that a KU team has scored less than 55 points and won the game.
There can't be many teams in the history of basketball that have done that. But we'll get into them. We'll touch on that. We'll also get into a very early look at the Chiefs and the Texans. We'll do that when we return. We also have Jaylon Thompson in. We got a lot of time to get through the rest of what we need to get through, and then really dig in as we make our way through the week. So keep it here. Sports Daily coming right back. It's a frustrating time. God, I didn't even want to get into K-State and Wichita State because it's so frustrating. But there you are. You can go back and listen on the Odyssey app if you missed any of it. We'll be right back.
66 counties, 4 regions, and 1 weather team that you can trust. Find Storm Team 12 every weekday at 5:30 on the KSCW. Whatever the weather and wherever you are, Storm Team 12 is zooming in, going zone by zone to give you a more in-depth look at the forecast and some science behind the storms so you know more. We're focusing on the forecast so you can focus on what's important to you. Storm Team 12 Weather Focus, 5:30 on the KSCW.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite, or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
It's the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood, written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
What is GMFB overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of... It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Are following a breaking update.
Every day, all day, stream the stories that have you talking near and far.
Whoever is behind the wheel of this bus is not stopping.
From hundreds of local reporters and meteorologists spanning the country.
Chaos here this morning at the UW campus.
Search LNL for the all-new Local News Live streaming app.
Make yourself known now.
31001 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you.
And inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems
Why are they hiding it?
and real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospitalized from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issued a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Thanks to Crestview Country Club for being a supporter of the program. You know, one of the great things that we like about Crestview, or I do, is it's also a bar and restaurant there right at the club. So if you want to watch some NFL playoff action, you want to watch some college basketball, there's a bar right there to do it. It's nice. It's easy. It's great staff. So give Crestview a call. It is the winter time. You're looking at events. You're looking at all the different things that you can do this time of year. They have tons of them. You can go in their app and look on their calendar, and it's just nonstop. So give them a call. There's different levels of membership too. And we'd invite you over there to talk to their staff and see why we like it so much. Thanks for their support. All right, let's continue on college basketball here while we have it, Tommy, and then we'll talk in this segment a little bit about the Chiefs as well. Kansas wins a game 54-40. Look, I don't – that's a weird one. I don't know what to make of it, honestly. Cincinnati was – I would call it unlucky a little bit. I know in a lot of their shooting, like nothing was falling for either team. It was one of the stranger games, a combined 5 of 43 from three for the two teams. Like it wasn't working for either team. And in a game like that where it's just not working, I think you look at it from a KU perspective and just say they were able to suffocate another team for a half of basketball that didn't give them a chance. Some of that was Cincinnati was very unfortunate, right? Had some bad luck shooting, but a lot of it is this may end up being KU's identity, and that's a good identity to have. I don't know what the offensive ceiling of this team is. I really don't, but I think we know what the defensive ceiling of this team is, and now we've seen it against UCF, and we've seen it in two halves against Arizona State and Cincinnati.
Yeah, it's wild to me that this team went out in the transfer portal during the offseason to try to find shot makers, playmakers, all of that to generate more offense for this team. And they did. They went and grabbed some guys that they feel like can do that at a higher level than what they had a year ago. But really, it is the defense that has been locked down, especially in conference play. What they did in the second half against Arizona State, what they did in the second half against Cincinnati. In fact, for a majority of the game, they were able to do that. And really, it's led by really that linchpin is Shaq Moore. And what he has been able to do defensively, he brings that effort, that lockdown defense. And that, I think, shows and has really been able to propel the rest of the team to play even better defense also. So it really starts, I think, with him defensively. I don't think it's any coincidence that the Jayhawks started playing better defense when he joined the starting lineup. And so I think that has a lot to do with it as well. And that's really, I think Bill Self is going to look at that game. I'm sure he probably already has, and be really happy about it in a game when the Jayhawks weren't shooting the ball particularly well, being able to muddy it up and muck it up and get after it defensively, hold Cincinnati to 40 points. Yeah, that's not going to happen all the time because, like you mentioned, the Bearcats had some really good looks that just didn't go down. But more than anything else, it was just that suffocating defense that, to your point, I do think it's the new identity of this team.
I think it has to be. Shaq Moore right now has been a starter, of course, with DeJuan Harris and Zeke Mayo. Yeah. Yeah. So, which is an interesting, like, if we started the year and thought about, like, who are the three guys that'll maybe like run the point on this team? Like,
Right.
It's very interesting.
It's not the guy that went to a Final Four with Alabama and Rylan Griffin.
Yeah.
It's not the guy that was like an all Big Ten player in AJ Storr at Wisconsin. It's Zeke Mayo. And to his credit, he was a great player before. He's been a great player his entire career. And Shaq Moore. I mean, both of these guys have been able to be really big time, playmakers, and they've been able to be the difference for the Jayhawks.
So, and I think the good thing about that is you can imagine a world where the other guys, you just kind of need one of them. And I know this didn't happen against Cincinnati. Nobody was good offensively against Cincinnati. But if you can find a hot hand elsewhere, like, you can get them in there and do it. But that lineup, that particular lineup, which has been the one they've used most recently, does give you right now the chance to be outstanding defensively and have Zeke Mayo in it, who is not afraid to get up there and fire away. So I like it. I like the lineup. I would not have guessed that would have been the best defensive lineup that they could have run out there, but right now it has been. And that's great. Let's see what it does against one of the best offensive teams in the country in Iowa State. That is a fascinating matchup. They'll be underdogs in that game. There's no question. But you want to talk about a collision course of styles? You're going to get it in that game. Iowa State is incredible offensively. And if K-State plays that level of defense, we'll see. KU's going to have somebody shoot the ball well. Obviously, they can't shoot it like they shot against Cincinnati if they want to win that game. But it will be good. That game's not until Wednesday. We'll have much more on it as we make our way through the week. But 54-40. Yeah, that's something.
Hey, even though Kansas won that game, as soon as it was done, I thought to myself, that's a game that both the Jayhawks and the Bearcats are glad is over. It was not a pretty game to watch, but man, like it was messy. They got it done.
I don't even know what to say about that game other than they only allowed 40 points. Right? That's it. Like, let's just leave it there.
Stop right there.
Yeah, the Iowa State game is going to be so cool. I can't that I don't even know. Like, you want to talk about not knowing what to expect. That would be the one there. All right, let's talk Chiefs here for a second. We know it'll be the Texans again. I think, and obviously we're going to talk a ton about this week. The thing that stands out to me about that game, about that team, is they're not as bad. And I said this in our picks, and I think I ended up picking the Chargers. It was more of a tip of the cap to the Chargers. But I said it then, and I believe it even more now. Like, Houston is not as bad as people think they are. They're not playing as poorly as people think they are. That's Pittsburgh, right? Houston won 3 out of their last 5 going out. Their only losses were at Kansas City and then back-to-back weeks against Baltimore, and they got thumped by Baltimore on Christmas Day. And it's like everyone thought, oh, well, they're terrible. Man, they're not. They're not. They won 3 out of those games. They beat Miami, who had everything to play for in that stretch. They finished strong there, of course. They look great against the Chargers. You go back and look at their season. They've got a win over Buffalo. They've got a 3-point loss against Detroit. They beat the dog out of Dallas. Like, they have good wins. This team is not that far off of what we thought they were going to be. They're just not as explosive offensively because they've lost so many wide receivers to injury. I went back and looked at this during the break. CJ Stroud, who everybody, kind of is, there's this narrative that he's taken this huge step back. That hasn't happened. He's taken a step back. He's thrown more interceptions, but he's had less to work with. At the same time, he hasn't had a bad season. He's a second-year quarterback that made big plays in that most recent game. So what I hope doesn't happen is everybody's like looking at this like, oh, great, it's Houston. They suck. They don't suck. They never have sucked. They haven't. I think there's a narrative there that doesn't exist. Like, if you want to talk about that team, that was Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was the team that just sort of stumbled their way in. That was never Houston. And they got an elite level pass rush. They've got a great defensive coach, and they've got a quarterback and a couple of guys. Plus, by the way, Joe Mixon is there, right? Joe Mixon's great. So I just don't want everybody to. Now, Kansas City's better, and Kansas City should beat them. There's no question about that. But Houston's not some rollover team by any means.
I think the biggest difference with CJ Stroud from a year ago to this year is that he's got Joe Mixon now. And so it doesn't have to be fully on the shoulders of the pass game. And you saw like big time passing numbers from Stroud as a rookie. And then they bring in a guy like Joe Mixon to help shoulder some of the burden offensively. And if they didn't have Mixon and they lost Steph Diggs and they lost Tank Dell, then there would be major issues. But the fact, like going back to just the game on Saturday, Mixon ran the ball 25 times. Like, it wasn't like he got the ball a little bit. They gave him the ball a lot.
Yeah.
And he delivered. He rushed for over 5 yards a carry, got into the end zone for sure. Like, he's going to be the focal point of that offense and establishing the run. And I know Kansas City has been a good team as far as stopping the run up to this point in the season, but they've got to lean on Mixon because he has been that nice change of pace, so it doesn't have to fall solely on Stroud.
I like this matchup for Kansas City, though, because you can imagine McDuffie trying to neutralize Nico Collins, and then if it gets a little one-dimensional, you like the Chiefs' chances to stop any team's run game. I do think it's an advantageous matchup for Kansas City. The challenge will be limiting the pass rush of Houston. But remember this too, Kansas City is the healthiest offensively it's been, and now has two options at left tackle collectively that are better than what they've had all year, whether they decide to go Tooney, whether they decide to go Humphreys, whatever it is. And when we think about them being healthy, it means two things. They can finally turn loose Isaiah Pacheco, and Hollywood Brown's back. Xavier Worthy has found his stride. They have the two tight ends. This is a team designed now to protect Mahomes through a quick strike passing game with finally all of its weapons and players, quite frankly, that are very good at doing that. They're all there now. So I do like the matchup for Kansas City, like a lot. I just don't want to sit here and continue the narrative that Houston's not very good. Houston's fine. Houston is not that far off of, they won their division. They're a couple injuries away from being exactly what we thought they'd be this year.
Houston also, they were able to grab 4 interceptions off of Justin Herbert on Saturday. Now,
Herbert did not play well.
Yeah, one of them wasn't Herbert's fault, but the other 3 absolutely were.
Yeah.
They were bad passes. And, I think there's a lot that goes into that. Number one, I think the pass rush, like you mentioned just a moment ago, had Herbert hurried and had him throwing off balance and making some poor decisions because he felt rushed. That's something that early in the Chiefs season we saw happen to Mahomes. Just in general, he was throwing a lot of interceptions because he was rushed and because he was, making some uncharacteristically poor decisions throwing the football. To Mahomes' credit, he's worked that out as the season has gotten further into it. It also helps that, like you mentioned, Xavier Worthy has come along. It helps that you've got a sure-handed veteran in DeAndre Hopkins that's now on the roster. They've been able to develop, to your point, that quick strike offense to where Mahomes is not hanging out in the backfield for 10 seconds and trying to let something, develop downfield, and then it's not, and he's forcing throws and turning the ball over. I really like the way that they've developed this offense in a way to get the ball out of Mahomes' hands quickly. I think that will hopefully neutralize any kind of pass rush that the Texans are going to throw at them, and they absolutely will. With Hunter and Anderson and all, like, they've got the pass rushers to be able to get you off your game. But at least the last time these two teams played, we really saw that quick strike offense come into full fruition for the Chiefs.
And two things that get unlocked that haven't been able to. We mentioned Pacheco. I'll tell you who I think is primed to have a massive postseason is Travis Kelce. Kelce is not only is now like there's, you got nothing to lose and all that, but think about what Hollywood Brown and the emergence of Worthy and having D-Hop, all of those things now as teams have to like keep honest because of that, gives Kelce probably a lot of one-on-ones. And if Kelce has a lot of one-on-ones in a postseason with Mahomes, they have a chance to feast a little bit. And I think that they will. I think you're going to see big postseason performances from Kelce and Pacheco. And I think the Chiefs know what they need to do. We'll see if their defense can, play to the level that it's absolute ceiling. It'll be close. We'll see what kind of pass rush they can get. That will be critical. Not so much, I don't think, in this game as it will in whichever game they play next, if they win against Houston. But the one elephant in the room, and the narrative is already building, Tommy, is this thing that they haven't played since Christmas Day. And that's a long, long time. I'm glad they don't have to go out of that game and play Baltimore or Buffalo. I think there is a little room. This is Andy. It's so funny too. And I'm concerned. I'm very concerned about whatever it is, 24 days off or whatever the number is. But Andy Reid's always been one of the best bye week coaches, right? Always. That's kind of his thing. So, like, where is that line of now Andy Reid's had all this time to cook stuff up versus these players haven't played? And I think I haven't really changed my mind on where I started with that. I think it's different when Patrick Mahomes and Chris Jones and Travis Kelce and Andy Reid and all of these people who have been together for so long get that kind of break, and when the Oregon Ducks get that kind of break. I don't think that's an apples to apples comparison. I don't. Will there be rust? Maybe. Will it be to the effect we saw like in the CFP? I doubt it, because of the fact that these guys have been together now for 6 or 7 years. Like they probably could be okay to not practice, right? Like they're just like they're that in sync that I think it's all right. Everything should be okay. But yeah, you might see some first quarter rust.
Well, and it's not like they all went to Cabo for 2 weeks and hung out on the beach, right? Like they've been prepping, they've been practicing, they've been game planning, they've been doing all,
and they've played all these teams already this year.
Right. And I think that, the fact that, they got absolutely shellacked by the Broncos in the final regular season game with all their second and third stringers. But I like that because it gave those guys game reps. And I mean, take a look at the Packers, for example. We didn't talk much about that game yesterday. The Packers had injury after injury after injury after injury. If something like that, God forbid, happens to the Chiefs this weekend, at least you've got some second and third stringers that have gotten some game reps in the final regular season game most recently. Now you don't feel comfortable with that.
If that happens to any team, they're toast, right?
Right, but at least there were guys that I was not even familiar with that they were playing in that game for the Chiefs in Week 18. So them getting some game reps might not be the worst thing in the world. So come on, it's not like they're just going to come into the game completely unprepared and sleepy and like all of that. Like they've been absolutely using this extra time to prepare and get ready.
They have been, and they'll be fine. And they've been here before. And I really like them in this game. Do I like them to win by 8? I'm not so sure. But we got a lot of time to think about that, but it is the Saturday game. That's advantage Chiefs, by the way. Like, as much as I would have rather seen them play on KWCH selfishly and all these things, that gives Houston less time to prepare. Houston was almost always going to play on a Saturday because they played on the Saturday prior, right? And you weren't going to the NFL to some degree doesn't want them to be on short West, although I don't think they care too much about that. It's not a team that gets an extra day to prepare, right? Houston will get the regular week. So all of that's good for Kansas City. I I can't wait to sort of hear from the team this week. Last week, we didn't hear anything from them. We finally heard from Andy Reid, I think, on Friday, but we'll start to hear. Maybe we'll get the plan at left tackle, although I highly doubt Andy Reid will make that announcement to the public. But there are things that I want to see. But, man, that team fully rested, healthier than it's been at any point this season. I think it's time for the Chiefs to remind everybody why they were a fairly heavy favorite going into the year, and I think they have the ability to do that. When we come back, Jaylon Thompson, our Royals Insider, joins us. What does he think of the Lorenzen deal that the Royals made? We'll have all kinds of fun stuff for you the rest of the way here on Sports Daily. It's Albrecht and Caster. Don't go away.
66 counties, 4 regions, and 1 weather team that you can trust. Find Storm Team 12 every weekday at 5:30 on the KSCW. Whatever the weather and wherever you are, Storm Team 12 is zooming in, going zone by zone to give you a more in-depth look at the forecast and some science behind the storms so you know more. We're focusing on the forecast so you can focus on what's important to you. Storm Team 12 Weather Focus, 5:30 on the KSCW.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
It's the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
What is GMFB overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of... It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Are following a breaking update.
Every day, all day, stream the stories that have you talking near and far.
Whoever is behind the wheel of this bus is not stopping.
From hundreds of local reporters and meteorologists spanning the country.
Chaos here this morning at the UW campus.
Search LNL for the all-new Local News Live streaming app.
Make yourself known now.
310-01 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you
and inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospitalized from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issued a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
"66 counties, 4 regions, and 1 weather team that you can trust." Find Storm Team 12.
All right, welcome back in, everybody, to Sports Daily. Jacob Albrecht alongside you. Jaylon Thompson's going to hop in here, our Royals Insider. Glad to be with you here. Hey, Jaylon, what's going on?
Hey, Jacob, I'm doing good. Doing the show solo today?
No, Tommy's here. He's behind the scenes doing a couple of things. So it'll be you and I here for the next couple of minutes. Jaylon, this is so funny. I think it was the same day, right, that we left you last week, or maybe it was the day after. We talked about Michael Lorenzen. So if we go all the way back to the Singer trade, and they bring in Jonathan India, I had a lot of concern with the deal, not because I don't think obviously they needed a leadoff hitter and they found that, but it's troubling to me to lose what had become such a steady part of the rotation. Mm-hmm. Now they've solved that, though. Whether it's from the other guys that, they want to bring up, Bubic, whoever, or it's Lorenzen himself, now I'm far more comfortable with this trade than I was, when they made it initially.
Yeah, I think a lot of Royals fans feel the same way. When you look at the rotation, Brady Singer was a big part of that. You're talking about someone that could give you 180 innings in the season, and someone that can take the ball every fifth day, go out and deliver and give you quality innings and really just set you up to have a nice rotation. So when you take that out, you were looking at relying on young guys to fill in those number 4 and number 5 spots in the rotation. And as much as you might like Chris Bubic or Daniel Lynch IV, or even a Kyle Wright or Alec Marsh, those guys are still young. And when you're looking at trying to make a push for the postseason, you're trying to make a push to win the AL Central, you kind of need a veteran guy that could help, fill in where it has been there before. The Royals, as we know, just got there last year collectively as a unit, all those young guys. Michael Lorenzen coming back is a big deal because he can slide into that number 4 spot. And the Royals look at him as a full-time starter to at least begin the season. And they want him, and he said it himself, he wants to give 33 starts this year. So that's going to be huge. Now you have a big 4 in that rotation with Cole Reagan, Seth Lugo, Michael Wacha, Michael Lorenzen. And those young guys can all fill in that 5th spot, whoever wins it to start and whoever is there as the season progresses.
And I guess, when we think about expectations for Lorenzen, who wasn't even a full-time starter last year with the Rangers before they acquired him, it's his versatility, I think, that they like. I think it's probably unreasonable to expect Lorenzen to give them 33 starts of what they had in Brady Singer. But it's safer than the alternative. And now I think they feel like their offense will be even better. So, let's say Lorenzen just replaces Brady Singer. Are you comfortable then with the trade or when you go back to it, was it enough of a get in Jonathan India to justify the give of Brady Singer, who, was the Royals' fourth pitcher, but pitched like a lot of teams' second or third best pitcher?
I think it was worth it. And looking back at the trade, I said at the time, I thought it was the right deal for the Royals to do. Because when you look at the sum of the parts, the Royals needed someone that could get on base and set the tempo for the game. You're talking about last year, you had Bobby Witt Jr. coming up, and he didn't have anyone pretty much on in front of him to drive in and run. So a lot of his home runs were either going to be solo shots or, he's getting doubles, and there's no one racing around the bases scoring when he's hitting those doubles and triples that he's so profound at doing. So having a guy like Jonathan India, who's really great at getting on base, who's really great at leading off the game, now you're talking about you could be 1-0 easily before Salvi or Benny even steps to the plate. So I think that right there in itself for the Royals to start games off early, Jacob, as much as I do, when you give a pitcher a 1-0 lead before they even step out on the mound, if it's a road game or if they're at home, the Royals can work with that. And if I'm feel pretty confident if I was them having Cole Reagans or Seth Lugo have a 1-0, 2-0 lead against a team like the Cleveland Guardians, which they'll see to begin the season.
And I think we have to be fair to the reality of baseball. Jaylon Thompson, KC Star, Royals reporter, Royals Insider for us here on Sports Daily. We have to be honest with the likelihood of them being as healthy in the rotation as they were a year ago. It's unlikely. Doesn't happen a lot in baseball. They were pretty healthy there.
Yep.
That's the other thing I like about the Lorenzen thing. The deal is, okay, in a best case scenario, if two of those other young guys pan out, like the chances of everybody staying healthy are low.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You see that very often in baseball. And so if you want to put all your chips into the table with these unproven guys, that always seemed dangerous. Again, now this makes a little sense.
Yeah, I definitely agree. When you listen to what Royals manager Matt Quatrell said, he was like, we need to have depth. When you look at the 8 guys that they had that pretty much made a start last year, I mean, you had your top 4 or 5, they made almost 25 to 30 starts. But what happens if you don't want any injuries, but what if an injury happens? Then in the rotation,
they all reached pitching. They've never pitched as much as they pitched last year, right? Like there's wear and tear there we've never seen.
Exactly. And I think they do have that depth now. That's why getting Lorenzen was so important, because now you can say, Kyle Wright, you're coming back from a right shoulder injury. You can take your time to get back, and when you're ready, we can give you some starts to get you back in the flow of things to see what we have, and if you still have it. Chris Bubich, you coming back from the bullpen, now you're back to a starter role. We can give you some starts in that 5th starter spot if you win it in spring training and see what you do. Same with Alex March, same with Daniel Lynch, same with even Noah Cameron. They can even give him some starts, and then that just helps the development as well, knowing that you won't be counting on them to give you 25 starts. But if those guys can give you 5 starts, 5 times 5 is 25 right there.
Yeah, I agree. Jaylon Thompson, you can follow him on X at Jaylon Thompson. So one of the stories I see you've got up now is what's next, that's the interesting one. What's next for the Royals? Do they have more moves to make? I see that they've re-signed and tendered a bunch of players, and there's some familiar faces, but are there any new faces you think the Royals still have the appetite to go out there for now that they spent the Lorenzen money?
I think you have to. It's a wait and see approach. I believe we have a month until spring training starts, and as we both know, when it comes to spring training, guys are going to be moving and shuffling as teams set their rosters. It might be someone that's on a roster right now that may not make their current team's roster that might be available in spring training. So the Royals just have to kind of evaluate that. And the market could also have a lot of players that maybe sought something earlier on, and now they're looking to just get on a team before the season starts. So maybe their asking number comes down, and the Royals can probably slide in and get someone as well. We have to remember, like in spring training last year, the Royals needed relief help, and they went and got John Schreiber in the middle of spring training, and look how he performed for them down the stretch last year. And that could be a possibility for the Royals this year. They could see someone on someone's spring training roster in someone's camp that they like. They bring them in, and we'll see what happens. But I think for right now, as the team is currently constructed, I think they're going to really have to rely on what they have in house, which is MJ Melendez and Hunter Renfroe to get that middle of the order bat. And I think that if one of those young guys could step up, then they will be okay. But that's certainly what they want to do. They want to get another hitter to strengthen out the lineup. It's just a matter of, can they find that, and is that even available this close to spring training?
Yeah, in time will tell. Bookmark the bullpen conversation, because I want to have that with you next week now. What that looks like, how it shapes up. Will that end up being a strength for the team next year? It was such a problem and then got good at the end of the year. So we'll save that conversation for next week. Jaylon, we appreciate it. Again, follow Jaylon on X at Jaylon Thompson. You can find his work, of course, at the KC Star, reporting on the Royals almost every day as we get ready for the regular season. The winter meetings are over. There's a couple big ticket free agents left. It'll be baseball before we know it. Jaylon, we appreciate it. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Jacob, and thank you, Tommy. See you guys next week.
Sounds good. There goes Jaylon Thompson. If you missed any of that, you can go back and listen on the Odyssey app. Tommy, I can't wait to have that bullpen conversation, because that one will be fascinating, but we'll take them piece by piece. We got plenty of time to get ready for the regular season here. But yeah, the Royals make the big Lorenzen move. It opens things up, I think, for them a ton, and we're glad to see it. Real quick, Tommy, as we wrap up this segment, wild card round, what do you think was your biggest takeaway? I think everybody this morning, it's easy to just say Jaden Daniels got it done, all the big situations Dan Quinn let him survive in. Anything else jump out to you? And I know we've got another big one tonight. I don't know that there was anything. I think one thing that did jump out is the Eagles did not play well offensively. They can't really throw it. Jalen Hurts doesn't look good, and they still win 22-10. Their defense is dang good.
Well, and the Saquon Barkley effect, is part of that too.
Sure.
I mean, he's fantastic. I think for me, the biggest takeaway, outside of what we've already talked about, the Chargers are going to charge her, right? They're going to do what they're going to do. And you know what? I think Jim Harbaugh can get that out of the system of the franchise, but it's going to take longer than 1 year. Herbert didn't have a good game. Outside of Ladd McConkey, there were no other receivers that were targeted. It was not a good game for the Chargers.
It's been a long time since we've been able to look at the Chargers' early playoff exit and say it wasn't a coaching issue, and this one was a Justin Herbert issue. That's been a while. Yeah, it's been a while since we've been able to do that with the Chargers. So yeah, that was. I honestly, I think that probably the Texans deserve more credit there than anything tonight. Rams, Vikings, anything changed from what you're thinking? I feel like the stars are going to shine in this game. I think all the stars are going to shine. I think Nakua is going to be big. I think Jefferson's going to be big. I think the running, I am really, 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 this was my favorite game of the wild card weekend. We've just had to wait the longest to get to it.
I think it's going to be a phenomenal matchup. And I told you on Friday, I like the Rams.
Yeah.
I think the Rams are going to be able to make it happen and move on. And it's nothing against the Vikings, but watching Sam Darnold perform in that final regular season matchup against the Lions, he looked like he saw ghosts out there, and that concerns me a little bit.
Is it as simple as if Darnold has a good game and plays the way he has all season, and they advance, is that enough to have them in there as like major contenders for you? It is for me.
I think so. I mean, because they've just proven, all year long that they can get it done. Kevin O'Connell, their win total projected was like 6.5. And they're going to, obviously they went way over that. He's a great coach. He should be coach of the year in the NFC. I think if Darnold can do what he does, I feel good about that.
All right, we're coming back. You're going to hear that game tonight on KFH, but we're coming back. We'll take you through everything. If you've missed anything on the show, if it doesn't time out for you all to your best ways, you can always listen to us on the Odyssey app. Make sure you do that. We'll come back and have more for you here on Sports Daily. Don't go away. It's Albrocht and Castor. Been a fun Monday, and we'll keep it going next.